And joining me from Pokhran today, I've been able to grab my friend Angad Singh, also our favorite air power commentator, for a quick word on this story we've been doing. Angad, good to see you. Thanks for taking the time out. I know you're there for very exciting things. There's the Vayu Shakti show that's coming up in a couple of days. But on the show today, we're talking about these reports, Angad. You and I have been through this before, about the Sukhoi Su-57 suddenly being top of the pack. India is apparently homing in on choosing this Russian stealth fighter as a kind of stopgap arrangement since we don't have stealth fighters. I was wondering what you thought about that, Angad.
It's an interesting time, certainly, Shiv. We've moved from the announcement that we're moving forward with 114 Rafales now to this possible Su-57 acquisition. I think it points to the increasing criticality of the squadron shortfall in the Indian Air Force more than anything else. And I think we are finally at the point where this widening gap between us and our adversaries means that any and all options are being explored.
Does India have a choice in this matter?
At this juncture, I think India is exercising all its choices, if that makes sense. We have 180 LCAs on order. Once LCA Mark II rolls out and flies, those will be ordered in numbers. The Air Force is incredibly anxiously waiting for AMCA. It's full steam ahead on the domestic front. And clearly now, full steam ahead on the acquisition front from abroad as well.
As far as the Su-57 goes, Angad, it appears to be, the logic behind it appears to be that, we don't have stealth fighters. The neighborhood's going to have stealth fighters soon, and that creates an imbalance, and we don't have many options. So we need this as a kind of stopgap, a quick procurement. Does that make sense? Does India have choices as far as stealth fighters are concerned?
I'd start by saying it's not that stealth fighters are expected in the neighborhood soon. They are very much a reality of the neighborhood now.
Yeah.
Which, if anything, really lights a fire as far as force structure and perspective planning is concerned. As to choice, at this juncture, I don't think there is a real choice. If India wants something approaching fifth generation, we've debated the Su-57 itself threadbare as to whether it qualifies as a fifth generation aircraft. Is it good enough? Is it sort of a fifth gen minus? But look, and the Indian Air Force also exited this program, 7 or 8 years ago now.
Yeah.
So I think a return to considering the Su-57 fundamentally signals the desperation for numbers and capability in the Air Force today.
The Russians have been pitching it, not surprisingly, Angad, as an easy fit, because we've already got and are building the Su-30. And the Su-57 comes from the same lineage, and therefore, it's not going to be difficult for India to choose. Is that true?
I would say if it is true, it's not a great endorsement of the Su-57. The idea is that this should be such a great generational leap that it should take effort and energy and resources to absorb the technology and the manufacturing. I think that's more of just a pretty standard government-to-government talking point that we've been doing this for so long together, HAL and Sukhoi and UAC and Rosoboron Export as partners, that, I think that's more what they are talking about, that it's just a natural progression. And indeed it has been since time immemorial, since the MiG-21 first came to be produced at Nasik. We've been producing some variant of a Russian fighter or another non-stop for almost 60 years.
Final question, Angad. Like you said, stealth fighters are a reality in the neighborhood. In the event of an air battle, and obviously I'm simplifying this greatly for my viewers, but how important is it for India to have a stealth fighter in the mix should the balloon go up the next time?
I would argue it's critical. I think, and I've written about this starting years ago, we are firmly now in a fifth generation world, if that shorthand is deemed suitable. Fifth generation stealth, call it what you will. This is something that we need to be fielding yesterday, if not as soon as possible.
And I'm going to throw in just one final word since you mentioned the AMCA. Those timelines are sort of up in the air, a decade out before, targeted service entry. The way we understand it, it's difficult to talk about anything even a few months away from us, and we're talking about a decade on. Is that going to turn out the way it is intended, or is that going to become something else entirely?
AMCA is a really odd program to talk about with any sort of certainty.
Yeah.
And if you talk about Indian aerospace development programs in general, AMCA being 10 years away could be a blessing and a curse, depending on how well we administer that project and how responsive and agile we are. And by we, I mean both the user, the Air Force, and the developer, DRDO. Because, the longer you take to field a fifth generation project, it opens up avenues to add technology to it, add capabilities to it that current fifth generation aircraft may not have or may take longer to get. But the flip side of that is that the longer you take to field such a capability, the more disadvantaged you are against an adversary that has fifth gen today. So AMCA is, my preference for AMCA would be to see it move as fast as possible to first flight and then fielding, and worry about making it an all singing, all dancing, 5+, 6 generation aircraft later.
All right, you've given us, as always, Angad, a lot to think about. Thanks so much for your time here on NDTV. Thank you, Angad.